And I want to connect us to the cloud. Perfect. Oh my gosh. We have not been live. We haven't had the capabilities to go live to Facebook. Take your time, Heather, in a few weeks. So I'm so glad technology worked out today and we were able to connect to Facebook. It's really important. I know all of us have busy schedules. We're at work or we're at home with our kids. And so to be able to stream live and have the ladies be able to access the content when at their convenience is extremely important. So I'm glad we were able to connect. And Heather, we welcome you today. Are you all set to go? You need a few more minutes? You let me know.
I think that I am ready to go. Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really pleased to be joining you today.
And Heather, let me, real quick, did you want to send me your slides or are you okay clicking through on your end?
I should be fine clicking through if that's okay.
Okay. Yep, we'll get started. And if we have any questions from our Facebook group, I will throw those in as I see them. Otherwise, when ladies pop into the room, I'll let them in, but the floor is yours for the next hour. Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you. Let me just get my timer here so I can keep track of everything else.
I gotcha.
So I'm going to share. Okay. Everyone see that?
Yes.
Perfect.
Great. Okay. So I'm going to do it like a slideshow. Well, welcome to the Empower Hour, and I'm so excited to be joining you ladies at Dress for Success Columbus. And thank you, Erica and Bridget, for inviting me, including me in this wonderful movement. And I'm very excited, like I said, to be here and to hopefully bring some insight and enlightenment and empowerment to all of you ladies who are either transitioning into work or continuing your work to help you with your resumes and your LinkedIn profile. So basically, I'm calling this resume and LinkedIn empowerment, because my hope is that when you come away from this session today, and if you choose to join in one-on-one sessions moving forward, which Erica and Bridget will have available through the portal, that you will feel really empowered to have the tools that you need to get started on this journey in terms of your job search in combination with the tools that they're providing you. My name is Heather Halldin, and I live outside, I'm in the Philadelphia metro area, and I am a branding and career coach, resume branding specialist, and a social media advisor. I have a long history of business experience in PR, IT, recruiting, marketing, and then career assistance advisement. So what to expect in this session? So basically, I'm going to give you a little bit introduction more about myself, just brief. We're going to talk about your resume. We're going to talk about the power of your LinkedIn profile. We're going to talk about next steps and some final words. And then I think that if we have time, we'll address Q&A. And my understanding is that Erica and Bridget will be grabbing, either comments and questions from the Facebook feed. Hello, I'm glad that we're on Facebook. It's very exciting. Or in the chat function. So I will then at that point turn that over to them to facilitate that. So as I said, my name is Heather Halldin. My professional LinkedIn name is Heather Hagen Halldin, and I do that because I have a maiden name and I am now divorced, but it helps people to find me who I was knowing in college or might know my first name and then know my married name. So I am a branding and career coach. and I do resume branding. I'm a resume branding specialist. I am certified through Lehigh Harrison to conduct that type of resume branding. And then I'm also a social media advisor. And I am also, I'm a single mom, I'm a working woman, I'm an entrepreneur. I have a consulting company helping high school, college, and young alumni students in the performing arts, fine arts, musicians and artists to help get their career path started and help them with career development, and basically working with them to do some of the things that I'm going to talk to you about today. So as I said, I am, that's my career. And then I'm also a single mom. I have a 20-year-old, almost 20-year-old, and a 17-year-old. And like I said, I'm a single mom. I've had a lot of times, where I had, my ex was kind of a deadbeat dad, and I felt myself having to utilize my county and state services. I found myself having to use an EBT card, having to get Medicaid so that my children were taken care of, and I think that being able to, find a good career path, find something that you love to do that uses your skills, helps you feel empowered, helps you provide for yourself and for your family, and create a more positive future for yourself and your family. I think that's really important that, we feel like when we're moving forward, that we feel the strength in ourselves, that we can recognize our personal strengths, that we can overcome, things that we might not be as good at, overcome obstacles, and really move on forward in our lives. And I think that all of us can do it. And I've done it. And I hope that part of this and this entire Dress for Success program, everything that they offer, will help you all to feel empowered and do that and move forward in your lives, in a really meaningful way. And then, as I said, I'm an entrepreneur, and I have a consulting business, and in addition to working with, some organizations like Lehigh Harrison. I hope that introduction wasn't too long. So basically, we're going to talk about your resume. We're going to talk about your personal brand. This might be a new concept to you, but really your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and your whole approach to your job search is basically selling yourself. So at the bare bones of it, think of yourself like laundry detergent, or a store brand. You have to think of yourself in that concept, because you want to be able to present yourself in a way, that is cohesive and that speaks to recruiters and employers, so that they really understand what you have to offer, how you fit their needs. And I think it's a really powerful concept, in terms of giving you that strength and confidence in, your capabilities and what you can do with the tools that you have moving forward. We're going to talk about your resume, how it looks and how it makes you look. Again, this is your personal brand, and your resume is really the first thing that people are going to see. It is your calling card, and it's basically your step, to get you in the door, towards that interview, those next steps towards talking to recruiters and employers. We're going to talk about your resume and how it needs to fit their needs, which is basically tailoring your resume to fit the roles that you're applying for. And then some resume best practices and tips and resume resources. A couple of the things that you're going to come away from this session with, if you'd like to have, and Erica and Bridget will provide, is a copy of this deck for your reference. I have some resume templates for you that you can utilize, that I'm going to show you here, to help get kick-started and help create your resume, help you get started. And also best practices in resumes, best practices in LinkedIn. So you're going to have some documents and materials to work with, so that you don't have to take notes, worry about, this presentation. You can kind of just follow along, and then you'll have some things afterwards you can help utilize when you're working at it at home. So what is your personal brand? I mean, women today, we can do all kinds of things. We could be in healthcare, we can be in the office, we can be in the classroom, we can be the Vice President of the United States. You know, being able to create a personal brand that is cohesive, you know, that plays to your strengths, that is focused in a certain career area, you know, is really a great way to get you to that next step and help you really achieve your goals and dreams in terms of how you want to see your life moving forward and how you want to provide for yourself and provide for your family. And I think Kamala is such a great role model and example of a personal brand. But all of these, you know, EMTs, we have office workers, we've got construction workers, you know, healthcare workers, we have production workers in music, all kinds of things that women can do, and all kinds of things that you can bring your strengths to pursue. So basically your resume, how it looks and how it makes you look. A big goal in terms of resumes, number one, is it has to be what we call AST compliant. This is applicant tracking system, ATS, sorry, applicant tracking system. This means that when you apply to a job and you upload your resume, or a recruiter grabs your resume and puts it in their system, that it is going to be compliant, and it's going to fill in all the little blanks in the form in their system, so that they're going to have all the information that they need to ascertain whether or not you're a capable candidate. So those things include your name, your contact information, your areas of expertise, your skills, your work history, your education, you know, professional development. So these are the elements that go into the whole resume. And as I said, there is a format and a template that I'm going to provide, two of them actually, because basically there's kind of two ways that we go about it. One way is what we call a functional resume, and the other is a chronological resume. You know, typically, we're going to want to go with a chronological resume. Basically, that is talking about, you know, you and your skills and areas of expertise again, but it's really kind of going backwards from the most current position that you've ever had. You know, going back through any kind of, you know, work experience and even life experience that you've had. You know, because if you do have gaps in your work experience, you can fill that in and provide information about life experience, you know, whether you were caretaking or you're working on, you know, learning things. You know, if you had gaps in employment, those can be explained. And that can work into the chronological resume. And that's more typically what you will be working on and using in terms of a resume. And then also there's a functional resume, which is what's showing here. And basically a functional resume is ideal for people who are just entering the workforce, people who do have maybe a lot of jobs, maybe short, you know, they haven't had jobs for a very long time. It looks like they, you know, jumping from jobs. You've got job gaps, you know, in your work history. So this is a great format, what we call functional resume, because it shows what your strengths are. It speaks to your skills and your experience, and shows that and highlights that. And it does bring into it your work experience, but it's not focusing on, you know, the roles you've had, the timeframes that you've had them. So it's a good way, like I said, if you're transitioning into the workforce, you know, you've got a lot of jobs, you have jobs that maybe weren't fitting what you really want to be doing, or if you've had a lot of gaps in your job experience too, this is a great way to make yourself really look good on paper. Like I said, this is your calling card. This is your way in the door, you know, to get to the next level with employers. You know, both copies, both formats have what we call like your contact information. Both of them have what we would call your summary, your brand statement. You know, basically that is talking about your overall experience, your skill sets, you know, things you've done, your strengths. And it also brings into it what we call your soft skills. So you may say, for example, you've done administrative support, and that is what we would consider like a hard skill or core competency. You know, it's very black and white. You know, it's I've done typing, I've been filing, I've answered phones, those types of skills. But the other thing too that is really key in terms of bringing a functional resume, and particularly for people who, you know, if you're just entering the workforce again, or again, you know, you've got things that You've had lots of smaller jobs, or you've had jobs that aren't things that you really want to do, and you want to be moving on and trying other newer things, really playing up your skills, is to bring in these skills that you have. We all have strengths and skills that we don't even probably realize. We like to think outside the box. We have what we call transferable skills. If you have managed a home, you've got project management and organizational skills, time management skills. You kept up your bank account and your bank book. Therefore you've got, money and accounting skills. There's things that if you look around, the things that you've done, at different jobs and also in your personal life, your personal experience, you'll be able to pull things from, those sources that really speak to your strengths. And so don't discount those things, because you might not have a specific degree or you might have a specific skill set, but you do have things that you bring to the table that make you valuable to an employer. So these are opportunities to show those things to employers. And it's really critical, to do that, to really show them what you bring to the table. So in terms of, fitting their needs, what we do call tailoring to the role. So this is a copy and an example of chronological resume. The one before was the functional. So you can see here that there's a really big, experience section here. It has, dates. And basically, again, it has the contact information, it has areas of expertise, your skills, your education, and then your experience section. When you do have a chronological experience section, you're going to want to mention the company, the city that it's in, the state, the time frame that you've been there, your role, and then give kind of a brief job description, just a couple sentences about an overall idea of what you did there, and then what we call accomplishment statements. So that's basically what you did, how you did it, and what the outcome was. It's important not just to list the activities that you did in a job, but you need to show what the result was of those activities. You need to provide information to recruiters, employers about the value that your presence and activities there brought to the company. That's really important for them. And whenever possible, to quantify it. So if you worked in a retail or customer service role, for example, you would say something that, for example, that you greeted 100 customers a day. You answered, 100 phone calls a day. You helped, get the inventory in shape for, a warehouse, or, you packaged a certain number of packages a day. It's really important to kind of give them an idea of the scope of the things that you did, as well as what you did and the value that you brought. So as I said, I know this is a lot of information, but some of the things that we provided after will help, underline and reiterate those things, so you have some frame of reference. So as I said, then you've got your experience with your description, your accomplishment statements. You can have qualitative accomplishment statements too. They don't all necessarily need to include numbers and metrics and quantify things, but they could be what we call qualitative things. So, you provided a service, you provided a positive customer experience by interacting with people in a professional and friendly manner, for example. Or you helped improve something, you saw something that could be done in a better way, and you helped to implement that. Things like that, you brought value, and you provided a service. So, and then there's what we call the skills section. And again, that's basically, that you, for example, hard skills or core competencies, like providing customer service or administrative support. And it varies by industry. Or again, also then soft skills, like organization, timekeeping, for example, administrative assistant would have things like, being, front office support, writing emails and letters, taking in and handling packages, scheduling travel, keeping somebody's calendar. So that would just be like an administrative assistant one, just to give you an example of things that would be in those skill sets. And then there is that what we call the education section. And that is where you will list, if you do have a degree, whether it's an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, you would include that and the institution. Anything in terms of education, if it's more than 5 years ago, you don't need to include dates. If you don't have an advanced degree, and you have a high school diploma or a GED, and include that, and also include, where you went to high school, for example. Also, any kind of certifications or professional development that you're going to take. If you have something special that you certified, whether it's, advanced life support, CPR, if you're in childcare or healthcare, that would be an important type of certification to have. If you're taking courses, for example, LinkedIn has a ton of courses that you can take. And the template sample that I provide to you shows some examples of that. So, for example, taking an advanced, a beginning and an advanced, beginning, intermediate, advanced courses, in, for example, Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, or administrative assistant skills. Those are all things too. If you look on LinkedIn, you'll find that they've all kinds of learning databases that you can go in and learn all kinds of things to help, support your career, grow, and also to be able to move in a direction you really want to move in, and get your skills really up to speed. And this is all things that you should include on your resume. One thing you shouldn't include on your resume are hobbies. We don't really include volunteer work. Your resume is very clinical. It's very black and white. It's all in third person. And it's just very, like I said, it's very straightforward. And it does present you and your experience and your skills. But again, it's very basic. You just want to get all the basic information that you can to them to get you to the next step. So just some things to think about, conventional tips and resumes, the personal brand focus. Make sure that everything on your resume supports that brand. If you have multiple experience in the past, those might be skills that you're bringing forward, but they're not necessarily things that you're wanting to highlight. You want to make sure that you're bringing kind of a cohesive brand. So if you've got multiple areas that you've worked in, but you really want to focus on another, for example, you have some food service background, but you really want to be an administrative assistant or work in an office, then you would focus on the office things. And you can still bring in skills that you learned, in your food service business, obviously, but you're really going to want to focus on the things that you want to present as your brand and really bring that cohesive, strong look and feel and information to recruiters and employers, because you don't want to confuse them. You want to customize and tailor it. So every time that you apply to a specific job or have a conversation with a person about a job and are going to present a resume, you need to pay particular attention to the job description or the conversation, and tailor your resume to fit that. So for example, if you're going for an administrative assistant position, or a warehouse position or a healthcare position, you read through the job description, you look at the qualifications, and you look at your experience and your background and your skills, and you kind of match them. So you want to really make sure that you connect the dots from the job description to you, because you want to show them how you fit their needs. And an important thing that is involved in this is what we call keywords. So keywords, administrative assistant, front office, experience, typing, office equipment, technical software, experience, things like that, we call keywords. So when a resume is in, LinkedIn or someone's looking at it, they're going to be searching for keywords that fit their jobs and their needs. And those are things, again, that when they put your resume into their system, they're going to scan it. It's going to be ATS compliant because you follow a certain format, and have certain types of information on it. And you're going to have words that fit their terminology, fit their job description. So it's going to fill a set of criteria that's really going to help them to say, check, check, check. This person is going to be great to talk to. Let's bring her in and get to know her and see if she really does fit our needs. Keep it short and simple. You don't really want to go more than 2 pages. If you can fit it on 1 page, that's great. You don't want to scrunch it all up. But again, using that template, you should very easily be able to fit it on no more than 2 pages. Recruiters, they spend 7.4 seconds looking at your resume. That's all. They may just only look at the front page. So that's one of the reasons why you have that summary at the top and you've got your skills on the front, you know, and then the beginning, either of your functional or your chronological information, because they're just going to scan it. But you want to make sure that they get all that information. Leave out your hobbies and personal information. And I'll talk about hobbies and volunteer and more personal information in LinkedIn because that's really a more appropriate place for it. Old is not new, you know, so if you have, for example, WordStar experience in, you know, word processing, nobody uses that anymore. You know, everyone uses Microsoft Office now. They use Google Docs. So those are things that, you know, if you're going to be bringing things into your resume, talking about specific, you know, applications you know how to use, certain office equipment, certain office tools and technology, you know, make sure that what you're bringing to the table is current, or, you know, don't highlight it. And use the template. You know, it's really an easy way for you to, you know, fill in the blanks and give that information and give it that, you know, it's going to be compliant. It's going to be easy for them to look at, read. It's going to look nice and clean. So make your life easy and definitely use a template. The templates that I provide are ones that you can use, but, you know, Indeed has a ton of different templates. LinkedIn has templates. You know, for example, you can go on Indeed. They've got templates for specific areas. So they've got healthcare worker, administrative assistant, any type of job, a role that you'd want to fill, they have a template for it. So that can give you some ideas as well. But I'll go into that more in a little bit in the resources. You know, don't over or underestimate yourself. You know, have integrity, be truthful about what you can and can't do. You don't have to upplay your weaknesses, but definitely don't forget to highlight your strengths. And don't underestimate yourself, because as I said, there's things that you know how to do that might not necessarily have filled the job description, but they are skills that you bring to the table. Like I said, you know, if you're able to organize a home, you know, get kids ready for school in the morning, you know, do these types of things. This is experience and skills that you have to bring to the table. So don't underestimate things that you know how to do because they might not necessarily immediately seem like something that would fit a job description for something that you want to do. And basically make your resume make you shine. You know, review it with peers, review it with mentors, review it with you know, people at Dress for Success. You know, make sure that the punctuation is correct, make sure that the grammar is correct, make sure there are no typos. You know, make sure that it's clean and as perfect as you can make it. You know, and as strong as you can make it, because it is your first impression with the recruiter and the employer. And you really want to make a good first impression and get to that next step. So here are some resume resources online. Obviously, you can Google things, but there's Job Hero, LinkedIn, Indeed. These all have a lot of great resources in terms of, you know, articles you can read, templates, webinars, all kinds of information for your job search, specifically for resumes, that you will find really helpful. You know, if you have a question about something and you're wondering, how do I word filling in this job gap? You know, how do I, you know, what are the keywords for a certain job area? Definitely, you know, go and use these resources because they'll really help you. You know, once you've got that template in hand and you start filling in the blanks, they really help you to fill out and flesh out those things and answer questions that you might have. And so I would definitely make an effort to utilize those resources. So your LinkedIn profile. You know, it used to be that you would send a resume, you'd look in the newspaper, you'd send a resume to, you know, you fill in a letter, send it off in the mail to a company, or you'd hand it into a company, you know, or just fill out an application and hand it into a company. but this is now a modern age and we are all about technology. And LinkedIn is that great big tool that recruiters and employers utilize. It's 80 to 90% of recruiters and employers use LinkedIn to find people. So it's really important for you to have a profile there. And for this profile to support your personal brand. Again, it's going to be, your resume is going to be your jumping off point. Once you created a resume, then you have a lot of content, material, and direction from that resume to create your LinkedIn profile. And you really want to, again, make sure that your brand is really cohesive, that you're presenting yourself in a way that for what you really want to do, what your strengths are, and really provide that that whole outlook of yourself, professionally and skills-wise, what you bring to the table, so that people are A, going to be able to find you, and B, when they do find you and they're searching for things, that they're going to want to, again, take it to the next level. They're going to want a resume. They're going to want to look at you and ask questions about your background and see if you're a good fit. It's also an amazing platform, for activity and networking. LinkedIn is the Facebook for business. And it's really important to make sure that you keep that balance, that separation, that distinction. LinkedIn is for business. So even though it acts like Facebook in terms of how it operates and the kind of activity that it has on it, really keep it separate. You keep your email, your contact information. Think about it in terms of business. You're not going to want to have your home information. You're not going to have your private information there. It is really your platform to present your business self forward. And so I'll go over your personal brand and building up your profile. I'm going to talk about the activity and networking, specifically talk about finding your next great opportunity using LinkedIn briefly, and also talk about some LinkedIn best practices and tips. And again, as I said earlier, there is a sheet that I have, a document that will be provided if you would like it, that has the best practices and tips for LinkedIn, including instructions. So from the time where you get your profile, filling it all in, you can go step by step with this document, having it there with you while you're working on it to help you move through creating it, help you improve it and refine it. So that document is available to you. So building your professional brand. Oh, I'm sorry, my slide is messed up. What I will do here, let me just, so that we can, I'm actually going to show you LinkedIn here. There we go. LinkedIn. Because I had a wrong slide, I will show it to you so that you can actually see. So this is my profile. And it has, like I said, it's got a title, which is, again, your brand, your personal brand. You can fill in whatever you want. You can see that I've got branding and career coach, resume branding specialist, similar things that I spoke to you about. I'm also a document specialist. And then your experience, your work experience, your education, your volunteer experience, your skills, recommendations, accomplishments, and your interests. I'll kind of just briefly set on these. So, like I said, you're going to be starting off basically using your resume as a jumping off point. So, see more. So you're going to use your summary in your resume to start off with your about box. Your about box talks about where you've been, what you've been doing, where you want to go, what you're passionate about in terms of business. And this is unlike the resume, which is in the third person. Like I said, it's kind of clinical, black and white. This is in the first person. This is, I have been here. This is what I've done. This is what I'm passionate about. And then your experience section is when, again, mimic your resume, the chronological version of it. You're going to have the companies that you worked at, timeframes that you worked in, roles, a description, and then some accomplishments, things that you achieved there. You're going to have any education that you've had. So whether it's advanced degree, high school diploma, GED, any kind of education, certifications that you've done, professional development, have that. Now, as I said, you don't have volunteer experience in your resume, but LinkedIn, it has an added aspect. It's the opportunity to round yourself out, flesh yourself out professionally. So, for example, I have in my volunteer experience that I'm working and presenting to you folks today, so you ladies, so that that would be my volunteer experience. I also was a high school mentor for mentor for high school students in New York City. So that, again, you've got your skills section. You've got this great big skills section. You can have 50 skills. So these are things, again, these are hard skills, branding, identity, networking, social media, typing, and then time management. So there's all type of, there's interpersonal skills, there's tools and technologies, Microsoft Office, and you've got 50 of these. It's a great opportunity to present all your best skills. And you can order them. So you're presenting your professional brand, you're supporting that brand. You want all the things that support that brand to be up at the top. So that's the first thing that people see. And then you have got what we call recommendations, where someone who would maybe have been a reference for you, you could ask them to give you a recommendation, to talk about, what a great employee you've been, what a great coworker you've been, how great you were on a project, whether it's a volunteer project or, a home project or a work project. These are people that can speak to the skills that you have and the value that you bring to a situation, and, work situation, a volunteer situation. Accomplishments, so certifications, organizations that you might belong to, and then what we call interests. And I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute, interest, because that goes in towards the activity. So you stop share, we'll kind of pop back here to the presentation. Move back here. So activity and networking. This is going to be your greatest asset, to connect with other people, to connect with people in companies, to connect with people in your community, to expand that network of people that you are in contact with, recruiters, so that you can, because that networking is a really important part of finding work. Having people to give you, information, give you leads, they've heard about a job. It's really important to kind of get that network going. LinkedIn works very much like Facebook. The more active you are, the more visible you become. I'm sure you're aware, you've seen Facebook and how, I'm probably on Facebook right now. And you see the news feed and you see all these things scrolling, coming up, and people that are in your, in your contact list there, your friends. You see specific people. Basically, LinkedIn works the same way. There's a news feed, that there's people posting things and commenting on things. And you're going to really want to invest time every day into looking at your news feed on LinkedIn. Once you got your profile worked up and set, looking at your news feed, looking at groups and companies and people that interest you, influencers that you want to follow. Look at what they're talking about. Look at what they're posting. You're going to want to comment on things. You're going to want to react to things. You can like things. You can celebrate things. You can make comments. You can even create posts on things. And these are all ways that increase your visibility so that you're going to show up on other people's news feeds. And that is going to be a good thing, because the more visible you become, you're going to be on people's radars, including recruiters. And in addition to the fact that they're searching LinkedIn for your skill sets and keywords, seeing you on people's feeds is going to increase that ability for recruiters to find you. So It's not just about you going and looking and taking that proactive step and networking, but it's also about people coming and finding you as well. So be very active if you can every day. So finding your next opportunity, you can have saved job searches, go and search for jobs. This is an example of an administrative assistant one in Columbus, Ohio. I apologize, my dog is barking. They're like toddlers. So you can see all the different roles that are here. These are all these different administrative assistant jobs. And this is just a little screen print. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons of them available. There's 360 results in Columbus, Ohio alone. And they'll have a job description. And this is what I was talking about. You know, if you see a type of job that you're interested in, you select it, you're going to see a job description. You're going to go through it. You're going to see that you've got the skills and the experience, you know, and the things that we're talking about, the qualifications, you know, if you need a high school diploma, or if you need a specific degree, or you need certain certification, you know, if they want a childcare worker, they want to make sure you have CPR. These are all things you want to make sure that you fit the criteria. And then you want to go through and tailor your resume to fit the job description. And it's not being, you're not lying. Basically what you're doing is you're taking your real experience, real skills, and just making sure that it's in an order and a delivery manner and wording that fits what they're talking. You're basically speaking their language because you want them to very easily be able to see how you fit their needs. So you may have experience that might not be worded the same way. If you can kind of tweak your language and tailor it, then you're definitely going to help them to understand that you definitely have what it takes to, you know, be a great person on the team and to get you into that next level. They're going to be like, oh, this person looks like they really fit the bill. I'm going to invite her in for an interview. And that's basically how that works. There's tons and tons. There's so many jobs here. You know, and obviously LinkedIn is not the only place to find jobs. Like I said, there's Job Hero and Indeed too. But LinkedIn is just this really great tool. It's got a lot of the things that you need in one place. So just some LinkedIn best practices and tips. I know I'm going through a lot of material here, and this is one of the reasons why I'm going to include the deck. I'm going to include the best practices for you to utilize and the resume templates, because it is a lot of information. And as you go forward and work on your resume and your LinkedIn profile, you'll have an opportunity in the future through the portal to sign up for one-on-one sessions, you know, with people at Dress for Success, but also with me. So I'll also be participating in that portal so that, you know, you can have some one-on-one time to work on your resume, review what you've done, review your LinkedIn profile. But this is the best practices document I was talking about. And it talks about your photo, you know, what kind of photo you should have, your background. It talks about the kind of headline you should have. And it goes through really from the top of your profile to the bottom of your profile, what are considered all the best practices. You know, it says, well, what kind of photo should you use? You know, what size should it be? These are the types of things that this addresses. Plus, it'll say, you can see here, it says how to change your background. So it not only has what is the best practice for this profile, but also steps. So this will be a really useful tool that you can have with you right next to you while you're working on it. So you don't have to try and figure out where things are. So that will be included in best practices and tips for. So next steps and final words. As I kind of wrap things up here, you know, make use of the templates, you know, whether you're going to make use of the templates that you can get from this session, or make use of templates that you find, for example, at Indeed. Make sure that you use a template that's, you know, ATS, Applicant Tracking System compliant. That's really going to help you provide that framework, make it really easy for you to move through and put all your, you know, your summary, your experience in there step by step. Then once you've got your resume in place, go through and create if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, create one. If you have one, make it better, refine it, And again, those best practices and instructions and tips will really help you walk through step by step how to do that, give you that information. LinkedIn, Indeed, Job Hero, you can Google. There are all types of information. And again, especially on LinkedIn, they've got a great knowledge database. They have classes that you can take. They have articles. They have all kinds of information on your resume, on your job search, interviewing, on your LinkedIn profile, and how to, get them started, make them better, make your process easier, answer your questions. So that information is all out there for you to utilize, and I hope that you'll really take advantage of it. So that being said, that is just sort of the roundup on your resume and your LinkedIn profile. And like I said, I know this was a lot of information, and I hope that the extra materials and the slide deck will help you kind of go through things and use as a reference when you're working on your resume and your LinkedIn profile. And I think that you'll find that they're really both valuable tools that are really, that you need them. And that if you take the effort to, make them the best that they can be and show what you offer and bring to the table, that they'll really be helpful, in your search, and really help you not just get a job, but help you find something that you really would love to do and move forward in your life. So that being said, we have a little time. I don't know, I'll turn it back over to Bridget and Erica. I don't know if there were questions on Facebook or in the chat that people wanted to address.
I don't have any questions in the chat or on Facebook. Teresa, do you have any questions?
I do. I'm sorry. I have a couple of questions, actually.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
One of them is I'm currently working on trying to redo my resume.
Mm-hmm.
How far back should I go when I'm listing my job experience?
10 to 15 years.
10 to 15 years? Okay.
Yeah,
is that more like a rule of thumb, or is that just how it is?
That is really like the rule of thumb and best practice. I'd say that the exception to that is that if you have relevant experience that's farther back. So for example, people that have been working in nursing or healthcare and then want to work in like healthcare, learning the IT part of it. It's important to employers to know that you have that extra background, behind you, not just the IT experience. So in that, what you could have is a section that says additional experience, and that's actually in the template that I include. And basically it's listing the company, the city, state, your role there, and a brief description without years. So it's just like a really kind of condensed version of that. So that's how you can address that, once you have that cut off.
Okay. And I think for me, the other thing I think that you kind of addressed was underselling yourself. I think I have a tendency to do that. And because I've been out of the workforce and I'm trying to re-enter the workforce. And so I was just trying to, because I'm sending out and applying for jobs online, and I get the responses that I'm getting back is, that they're going with a different candidate, or my resume looks great. So I'm trying to get away from my resume looks great, or that I have a lot of different experiences, so I can actually land a job that I'm looking for. And so what is your suggestion to kind of get over that hump to where I can either get that first or second interview?
A couple of things that I would suggest doing is to use a cover letter. They won't ask for it. They might not say it's a requirement, but I would say use a cover letter because it's an additional tool to, introduce yourself, talk about the specific role, talk about how you fit their needs. And there's typically a place where you can include like extra documents when you're uploading things. I say always use a cover letter. The other thing on LinkedIn, what you can do is they might show who posted the position. And if they do, I would reach out to that person. If they don't, I would go and look at the company on LinkedIn, look at their HR department, and try and find somebody there in the HR, the recruiting department, somebody at that company that you can reach out to and take a message to them, for example, and say, oh hey, I saw this position, I just want you to know I'm applying to it. And this is where your networking really comes in, because LinkedIn will also show you that you might know somebody that works at that company. If that's the case, use that connection, talk to that person about the company, say, oh, hey, I'm, look, I saw this great job there. I really want to apply. Who should I talk to? Or, can you point me in the right direction? So really taking proactive steps in terms of, written and online communication is a good way to differentiate yourself. And the other thing is that, and this goes into the interviewing part of things that is a little bit different, that's beyond the resume and LinkedIn part of it, is ask hard questions. I found there's a huge thing. I mean, people who are transitioning back into the workforce, who haven't been in the workforce, have, there's big challenges. There's also a huge challenge of ageism, in the workforce that's going on right now. And I found at one point I was applying for tons of jobs. I was going through the whole interview process, and then they were picking somebody else. And I had an instinct that it was because I hadn't done a specific thing for a while, that I was rusty, that I hadn't been in the workforce in that particular area. I had an idea that I knew what was wrong, or even if you don't know what's wrong. I went straight ahead and I said to the person doing the phone screen, because a lot of times they'll do a phone screen with you before they actually bring you in for an interview, because they want to kind of make sure that, they get all their details in and that they really are worth bringing in terms of a fit. And I said, what are the impediments and concerns against my candidacy? What would, often you say, okay, well, what would make me a great fit? Or how, do you think I would be a great fit? I actually just came out and brought in the elephant in the room and said, what do you see as being an obstacle to my moving on in this process? And the guy was just stunned, but he said, wow, that's a great question. And he actually said, oh, well, in my notes, I put this. And I had an opportunity to address it. So wherever you can just be bold and be straightforward and be proactive, that's going to help you, I think, to get through that barrier. So that's just my suggestion.
Okay, no, I appreciate that, because I think I'm in between that stage, and so it's okay, how do I address it, and things like that. So that's a great suggestion. I thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other questions?
All right, is that your last question, Teresa?
Yes, because the only other thing I would ask about would be an elevator pitch.
Oh, love that.
Any tips for elevator pitch? Because
yeah.
something that maybe an interviewer, that they may ask or something like that. So I was wondering about how to address that.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because like I said, it's one of those things that kind of is a step beyond just the information that I gave today, but it is a really important thing. And basically it's that, so tell me about yourself question that they give you, and you sit there and you go, okay. And this is where, not just being proactive, but this is where preparation comes in, that you want to be super prepared, to answer questions, when you're going to have a phone screen, when you're going to talk to someone, you research the company, you go through the job description, you go through your background experience and, connect the dots. And, and the great thing too about Zoom, we're not, and then I also practice, I practice either, do a little recording online of just myself, or I find someone I can practice with. But your elevator pitch, that's a great thing, because again, you're selling yourself. So elevator pitch is the perfect phrase for what you do. And I'd say that's what your about box is. Your about box is your elevator pitch. It's where have I been? What have I been doing? What am I passionate about in this? What do I bring to the table? Where do I see myself going? So that is exactly where it is. So for example, I would say, oh, well, for X, Y, Z years, I've been working on, this. I started out in, that, and this is how I transitioned into this. I found myself really passionate about, the IT part of it. And I wanted to, took some job training and, and learned from some of my peers so that I could increase my skills, and now I really want to move in, take the next step. So it's like that. It's that tell you about yourself. And I actually prepare a script, and I always look at the job description. Again, it's about you and what you bring to the table, your experience and your skills. But you also want to make sure that you're speaking to their needs really specifically. So you might want to move information around or include other information or experience that you have, in that elevator pitch, and really address that. It's that, tell me about yourself. I write everything out. I script it. I write out interview questions, things that I want to ask them. I go through and I research things that they're going to ask me. There's all kinds of standard interview questions. There's questions so that I can really find out that if it's a good fit for me, because not just about them needing you. You want to make sure that they're a good fit for you as well. But I prepare, write everything out. And again, keeping that customizing and tailoring thing in mind with every job situation that you come across, so that you can speak really specifically, to their situation and their needs in the context of what you bring. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. It helped a lot.
Well, Heather, I think we have come to the end of the session. Thank you so much for your time and expertise. Teresa, thank you for your amazing questions.
Yeah, great questions.
Anyone, again, if you have questions, if you're catching the playback, if you're viewing us live, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat. I will definitely get those over to Heather. Also, if you would like to receive the slides from today's workshop, please send me that request to Bridget@dfscmh.org, and I will be more than happy to send those to you.
As well as the templates and then the best practices document too. So you'll have those too for anybody who wants to have access to those.
Sounds good, Heather. Well, thank you everyone for your time. I'm wishing everyone a good rest of the day and a safe and healthy weekend.
You too. Thank you so much for having me. I wish everyone the best of luck on their job search.
Oh, we'll have you back soon, Heather. Thank you so much for being
I'd be
here.
happy to come back. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, Teresa. Bye, Heather.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.